all the technical things are going. So, alright. Error occurred. Uh-oh.
No internet.
What does that mean? What happens if I go to the... Oh, this is... It looks like it's working. What are you talking about? I think it's working. It's just being a butt.
Well, if anyone
Yeah,
if
I don't know
anyone
why I have
stops
a
on by,
question
they can
mark.
tell us.
Oh, it's because I replaced it because it used to say, "What is art?" That's what's going on. Okay. Okay, it's going.
Okay.
There's nobody here. But I guess we can try a snack though. I wanted
Alright.
to show it on there, but whatever. I want to eat something.
Okay. Hello and welcome to They Drank Tea and Discussed, in which we will eat a snack in relish, in
A
delight.
snack that is not discussed.
Yeah, we'll eat snack in delight. This snack is, I want the big one.
Careful, it's gonna drip.
No,
Sticky.
I know. I put honey on like 1,000 things. I am very mindful of honey. I'll take the big one and the little one. We're eating dates with brie and hot honey and little molecules of paradise. Little peppercorns. What are they called?
Grains of paradise.
Grains of paradise.
The black pepper you've never had.
Yeah, I've never had. I'm about to have. Mmm. A good snack. That's a super good snack when the brie kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone's into like the ASMR chewing thing. Oh man. I might have to like
stuff in dates is so good.
I might have to start doing this, honestly. This is really so good.
So good. I did it because the other day I was up at Piper's and helping my mom watch their kid because she was sick. And there was like nothing to eat, but they had a bunch of dates. And I was like, what do I do with dates? I've never done anything with dates. And I just got dates. And it was just like sour cream. I did dates and sour cream, and I had the grains of paradise, and I'd basically just mix it into the sour cream and put it in there. And that was really good, and I was like, I bet I could do some... something.
Sorry. I did not drip.
Good. And then at Smith's, they had a brie that they were discounting because I think it just didn't have the stupid, little, cask that it's in.
Mm-hmm.
But it was completely sealed, so it was, half off. Like, well, I'll take some cheap brie.
Yeah, it tastes great.
Yeah. Nice and simple, too.
Yeah, this is a...
Solid snack. I don't know if I'd like to get, some, really good honey. This honey's okay. It's fun that it's hot, but I think if you did, This is like a really nice honey.
The one that appears in the farmer's market.
Yeah.
I ran out of it a few months ago, but I had like a couple jars full, and it's super duper good. I mean, they have a couple different kinds, and I had... Here's a... So it's interesting how different honey can taste, but... And I never have the words.
Mm-hmm.
That's been like a weird... Like I don't have like honey describing words.
Yeah.
Cause
I know what you mean.
yeah, cause some honey can taste super different, because they're in the farmers market. They sell a honey. One is from here and one is from Wyoming, and they're both honey, but they're very different. And I was like trying to find any words. I guess the one here was like a little more floral, and that was the only thing I could get. But they're like,
They're so different.
yeah. And then my aunt got another like big barrel of some kind of local honey for me, and it was also very, very different. Yeah, honey words. I don't have like honey describing words.
I mean, I think floral is probably a good one.
Yeah, the one.
Certain aspects.
Yeah, the one that
But
the one was like definitely floral, and so that's like all I could latch on to. But since I always put it in my matcha, like I pretty much have a little bit of low quality matcha with high quality honey and a little cream every day.
mm-hmm.
And so honey's actually kind of the star.
Yeah.
And it makes up.
It's actually just honey tea.
Yeah. Hey. Well, it wasn't a barrel. It was a pretty big thing. My grandpa had barrels of honey. He had legit barrels of honey. And I polished it off last year. But he had been going through them for years. He had actual like barrels of honey. And then when he died, I was like, I want all that honey.
You won the honey pot.
Mm-hmm. 'Cause yeah, I eat honey like Pooh Bear. Like I just like burn through it.
Honey's so good.
So Eliza, Philip made a snack of dates with brie cheese in the middle, honey on top, and oh my gosh, grains of paradise. Which no, well so it's funny is he got his barrels of honey when his sister died, who had even more barrels of honey. So this is a weird like.
Was she a beekeeper?
No. They were from Cox, which is Cox honey, which is you can buy Cox honey in grocery stores here in anywhere in Utah. And I don't know where else, but it's down in like up. It's up in Cache Valley.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually have I got a big thing of it like waiting in the wings for me. It's kind of a honey empire. It's weird because their office is like a dinky rundown trailer on the side of the road, but
They sell honey all over the place.
yeah, I don't know. They probably sell a lot of honey. Yeah, if you ever see like their like little home base, it's like it's kind of a trailer. It's basically a trailer. Like just on the side of like the highway in Cache Valley. But don't let me get down on it. Cox honey, you're the best. And it's like my fondest dream, just have barrels of it again. It's really good.
Okay, yeah, you can buy like buckets. It looks like a paint bucket.
So grains of paradise, which I had never had before 3 minutes ago. I guess we could let Philip explain it because he's the discoverer of it, but it's like a pepper.
Yeah, so Grains of Paradise is... It's basically,
Excuse me.
flavor-wise, similar to black pepper, and it kind of looks like peppercorns, except the grains are smaller, and they're actually seeds. Black pepper's like a dried berry, whereas these are the seeds of a plant that's related to ginger.
And after he told me that, when I opened the pepper grinder and smelled it, and it smells like gingery.
Yeah.
Without him saying that, it smelled different, but I couldn't figure it out.
No, it's just a fun kind of black pepper substitute. Because if you try some just by itself, you're like, oh, this is like black pepper, but it's like a little bit more complex.
Where on earth did you find it?
Amazon.
Oh.
I just ordered I have some over here. I have like a packet. Somewhere.
Well, but what like...
I don't remember.
Why?
I decided to like look up... Because I was wondering, it's like, there's got to be more spices than the one that you just like normally use. Yeah.
I'm about to snuff some Grains of Paradise.
So I was just like looking up.
Ooh, it's also called alligator pepper.
It's a fun name. But I just looked up some like spices that were like kind of like unusual ones. And I found a bunch, but a lot of them are like, I don't know how to use these. Whereas this is one where I was reading about it. I was like, oh, you can just substitute black pepper for this.
When I stick my nose in it, it actually smells like pepper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like sticking my nose in the whole bag.
You could try eating a grain.
I might.
It's kind of fun. It's like a little spicy bomb.
I mean, biting into a pepper grain is
It's
not
a
always
lot.
the funniest thing, but...
It's a lot more pleasant than trying to eat a peppercorn.
I was about to say
It's not as hard. You can like actually chew it up. Yeah. We don't have an image of the date snack because we ate it all before anybody got here. We were impatient.
Hopefully my chewing sounds aren't still being gross on the camera. I'm finishing.
Yeah, that one's really good.
Yeah, this is one of my...
It's a good spring flavor.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite teas. Oolong, which... There's two kind of oolongs that are... There's probably lots. There's probably tons of oolongs, but there's these two main kinds. We've had both that... The other one's, like, really dark and kind of like a black tea-ish kind of thing, and this smells like a garden to me.
Kind of tastes like a garden.
Yeah. It's like... Oh, yeah, yeah.
Hold on, let's move.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot to see. I guess I could zoom in really close on some.
They're like half the size of a peppercorn, maybe.
And they're different.
I'm gonna pop it in my mouth.
Here's some.
Interesting. Yeah.
See how close.
That ain't half bad.
Yeah, you can kind of just eat them. They're actually like seeds, and they're not like all wrinkly and stuff. But yeah, you can just eat one.
I usually
Kind of fun to just eat, actually.
yeah, I usually grind my peppercorns pretty like large, so I don't mind like chewing on a peppercorn, but it's still like not the most fun. But this was like...
Yeah, I don't... It's like... Yeah, it's like more aromatic.
Yeah, I don't know how to...
Like it has almost like a perfumey tinge to it.
Let me just grab a couple. Oh, I only got one. That's okay.
It's turned into like a food review.
Yeah, it's
It's definitely different, but you can see it's like you could replace black pepper with it.
yeah. The heat of it is like gingery too.
Hmm.
It's like that heat.
Hmm.
I don't know what that's called.
Yeah, it's not as spherical. They're kind of
They look like seeds
yeah. They're
and not berries.
I'm trying to remember what other things there were that I came across. There's I mean,
Yeah.
there was mace, but I knew about mace, like the actual like mace,
Mhm.
not like ground mace, but the I don't know what you call that. There's a specific name. It's like mace leaf or something.
This is another tea that I thought tasted like shampoo first time I had it. Because it's like drinking like a flowery smell. Yeah, I don't know what mace.
Mace is like the thing that like it like encases a nutmeg.
Oh,
So nutmeg and mace are the same plant,
interesting.
but they're different parts of the plant. It's really weird. What was another one? It was, that wasn't juniper.
I put
I don't know. It was a bunch. There was a bunch of things, but a lot of them were like, I don't know how I'd use it, but I'm curious about some of them.
I was inspired by your saffron tea, and I made myself a little saffrony stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Played with that this week because I have a little thing of it. I made saffron rice, which I've been not like risotto, or I made saffron risotto, which I guess
Ooh.
is like a pretty classic. It's called Milanese risotto.
Sounds good.
It was way good. It was honestly better than any of the drinks I made. The drinks were all fine, but nothing I was like super excited about. Like I tried like smelling the saffron, I was like, I bet this sounds like this should go with orange, and so I gave everything I put with it kind of covered it up. Which I have the flavor Bible from the library,
Okay.
and they have a like a pro chef or like a professional chef quote for saffron. They have a couple for saffron, but one of the guys was like, "You should never taste the saffron. Like if you ever taste it, you've put in too much." So I thought that was kind of interesting. But it felt,
That is kind of why. What's
I,
wrong with saffron flavor?
I guess the idea is that it's
Just for the color?
a beautiful. It goes under as a flavor that goes under. I don't know, but I did notice with drinks, I felt like I covered it up really easy,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, I was like, I decided I'd kind of go hard with it. Like I put a lot of saffron in one of them so that I could like make sure and taste it,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah, I think it tastes fine.
Yeah, I like it.
It's just expensive.
Yeah, I don't know if, and yeah, I definitely
Just
wouldn't buy it.
I bought 2 things of it because it was buy one get one free at Smith's.
You were like,
I was like, why not?
you're like, okay, Smith.
I just use it to make teas, basically.
You bankrupt Smiths. They're like,
It
we
turns
didn't.
out it's like,
They're like, we didn't mean that one.
yeah. Can you not hear me? I'm a bit softer. Oh, here. I know why. I swapped the microphones from last time, so the levels are wonky. I think 'cause Casey usually speaks closer to the microphone than I
Yeah,
do.
I've kind of always got it like right up in my face, and Philip kind of has his.
I'm also moving around a lot in here,
Yeah,
grabbing stuff and clicking on things. But Let's turn this on again. Anyway.
Oscar Wilde.
Wildey.
Yeah, Oscar Wilde. The man, the myth, the legend. Kinda.
Yeah, it should be better now. Probably still adjust things a little bit. But anyway, we kind of decided to do this Oscar Wilde thing kind of short notice, but it's good because it's short. So,
Yeah.
which was perfect because I had like a crazy week this week.
And if the Leo Tolstoy essay, I'm trying to think of what even to compare it to. The Leo Tolstoy essay was like a full circus, and this is like a single guy doing a card trick. The Leo Tolstoy essay was a 3-course meal, and this is
It's a little snack.
This is like a single date filled with cheese. This is like a teeny little lecture.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because, like, after doing Tolstoy, because it's around about... I think the Tolstoy essay was written, maybe like 15, 20 years after this? So it's kind of similar era. They were around at the same time. But Oscar Wilde's kind of sort of from the opposite end of, like, thought in a way. Because Tolstoy talks about kind of the movement that Oscar Wilde fits into more in kind of a more dismissive way. Because it's sort of like the decadence and aesthetics movement. And he's kind of like... He didn't care for that much. So it's interesting hearing... Because Oscar Wilde's a little bit more in, like, the art for art's sake area. Whereas Tolstoy, he, like, outright is like, no, that's wrong. But...
Yeah, I really actually like the aesthetics movement a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Although, Oscar Wilde, like, outlines it in way more detail. I'm trying to remember what the thing is called. It's called, like, it's a little thing, it's not an essay because it's like a little mini play he made, but it's supposed to basically, it's like a person reading an essay.
Yeah.
It's called, like, The Decay of Lying, or the Decay of Deceit, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it'd be interesting. I feel like if we were to read that, it would be maybe the first thing we read where we might actually have some, like, real serious, like, disagreements with the...
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some stuff in there that you're like, that's dumb.
Yeah.
It has a very, like, I don't know what you would call it, like, 19th century, like, a very, like, Enlightenment attitude where it's like, nature sucks. Nature's stupid and art is the best because art's like man's reason conquering everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he talks a lot about kind of... How did he phrase it? It's like... I wrote it down somewhere. Like, when he's talking about craftsmanship, he talks about kind of a beautiful, rational design.
Yeah. Yeah, he says that a couple times.
He says he, like, kind of joins rationalism and beauty into kind of a related concept. Which, again, Tolstoy would not be happy with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. It's just really interesting to hear, like, different perspectives like this. Because obviously they both thought about these things a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess there's a lot to like disagree with in aesthetics movement, but I also just really like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot of what they're thinking of and what they're doing. And actually, so interestingly enough, speaking of decorations, um, we've read uh the two books on some Japanese aesthetics,
Mm-hmm.
and I totally get it. And if you were to be like, oh, what's like the better aesthetic between this and like Victorian era stuff, I'd be like, oh, probably the Japanese thing, but I actually really would probably rather have my house look like a museum.
Yeah.
Like I like the whole like there's like a gallery wall with 1,000 plants and like a fascinating rug and
Yeah.
like I actually really like that look a lot.
Yeah.
My versus like intellectually I'm like, oh yes, like the Japanese
Kind of that.
like everything they say in those books makes total sense. You're like, oh yeah, why would you have like 1,000 paintings and you can hardly like think straight in that room?
And then you're like, but I want
Yeah,
that.
I'd much rather have like the 1,000 paintings. I just like that a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting though is in this lecture, he's kind of primarily talking about
1,000
um,
plants.
basically not so much about like having paintings, but just like having beautifully crafted, just everyday things essentially.
Yeah,
And so he's talking about, it's like your water pitcher should be beautiful. Why have it be like ugly? It's like why don't you have wood carvings on your home? It's like why do you just have like blank white walls? He's just like talking about the importance of having craftsmanship in consideration. And just I mean, he goes into a bunch of things. I mean, talking about like schools should teach just like wood carving or something so that everybody has like a degree of craftsmanship. So at the very least they have like an awareness of that. Whether they go on to become like a carpenter doesn't really matter, but they'll be like, I could make something that's nice for my house. Or they'd be able to recognize the need for it. Yeah. No, it got me thinking a lot. It's like, man, it made me think because I have like the plate I had the snacks on. I just got at Smith's for cheap. But I was like, maybe it would be, makes me kind of want to like go find somebody around that makes plates and buy a plate from them, even if it's like $100. Because if I'm gonna have a plate, I only need one plate. May as well be like a nice one,
yeah,
Because also he's like a really good quality thing, as he would put, a beautiful rational design.
yeah.
Will become more valuable with time, and it will maintain its beauty. He's just like, was it like the Golden Gate of Vienna or something that he mentions? I don't remember where.
Yeah,
Or of like Venice. I think Venice. He's like, it's as beautiful today as it was when it was built centuries ago.
And he talks about the handmade furniture that the colonial Americans would have,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, they're like even more lovely today, or whatever he says.
Yeah.
He says the same thing. He's like, yeah, the handmade furniture that you guys have from the colonists is still beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Because this context, this was Oscar Wilde coming to the United States and touring around and giving some lectures.
Yeah.
And getting down on the United States a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, he's just talking about how ugly everything is. But he's also like, you guys, like, clearly want art. And it's like, he's just like, here's what you guys should do.
Yeah. It's a bit of a depressing thing because he like, you know, paints a picture of this idea where you're having beautiful handmade things and not things made in factories, and talking about how, and just talking about that, and now it's just another thing where you look now and you're like, oh, it's even worse.
Oh, I know. Like, he has a whole big section where he talks about men's fashion, which is completely out of context, out of line from everything else, which is about home decor, basically. All of a sudden he's like, the men here don't wear anything beautiful except for out west, the miners. The outfits the miners wear is cool.
Yeah.
It's like, I like their stuff, but everybody else, this is terrible. And he talks about how, like, oh, in the future it'll be better. And, like, I think I wrote a note where he's like, he would be appalled if he were to be here today and be like, these are the clothes people are wearing. Especially, like, yeah, you look at, this classic picture of him with his, like, fur-lined coat with his cane. Just, it's like, we are very far away from that.
Yeah, and that's one of the...
Yeah.
So, what you just said, Eliza, that's one of the issues with the whole aestheticism thing is it was essentially, like, a bunch of rich kids.
Yeah.
Like, being like, well, why can't everything be beautiful and art? Because, like, he was an aristocrat, all his buddies were aristocrats.
Yeah.
Like, they... Oh, yeah, fast fashion.
But at the same time, though, there's a degree at which he is making a good point. Especially with regards to where he's like, children should learn, like, craft skills in school, and that should be, like, an important thing to have.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Because I was thinking about that, at some point in time, for example, with clothes, there would have been tailors all over the place. Mm-hmm. And you could get not just, like, clothes mended, but you could, like, get clothes made by them. And that's how, like, in the Dominican Republic, they still, like, there's hundreds, if not thousands of tailors, and you could go to them and just be like, hey, I want a pair of pants with this material. You can bring whatever material you want. I want pants made out of this, and you can give them all the specifications, whatever kind of pocket, whatever kind of zipper or buttons and whatever. They'll do anything. You just tell them. And so it's like, it could be done. Yeah. With things. It's like, and how many other things could there be like that? Like a cobbler. I mean, there weren't as many there, but they existed. Like, there are people that, like, just, like, made shoes. And you could go to them and be like, hey, make me a pair of shoes. Or fix these pair of shoes. And I was thinking, it's like, if I wanted to get a custom pair of pants made here, I don't even know where I would go. I'm sure there's somewhere, but...
Garth's. No, but they do suits, but you can still have a custom pair of pants made. Yeah.
But it's also probably way more expensive.
Oh, it's super expensive.
Because there it's like like for basically what you would pay, if not cheaper, for like a pair of like dress pants here, you could get like a custom pair of pants made.
I don't know if woodworking was ever in schools. We did a teeny.
I mean,
teeny
there's
itsy
like
bitsy-
shop
yeah.
class in some places,
I mean,
but
but it's not like
it's not everywhere. It's not ever like required.
it's not like he wanted like the kids to go to like craftsman class.
Yeah, to like specifically being like wood carving or
Yeah.
something, where it's not just like let's make a table out of 2x4s. It'd be like here's your piece of like oak or whatever and carve a flower out of it or something.
Yeah, and he was like it'd be a great break for the kids, and he's right too. Kids would love stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, he does. I mean, you can't see it because it's just text or audio, where he does. He's like, here's something some kids made. Look at this beautiful copper disc that a 9-year-old girl made. So I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if there's even anywhere where you could find out what it looked like. Because he's also not like it needs to be like the most intricate thing. He even mentions good art isn't yeah, it's not about exactness or fineness.
Yeah, because
He's like a machine can do that. It just so whatever he was showing, I'm sure it's like cuz it's like 9-year-olds that he was showing off in there. It's like I can't imagine that they were like that good.
Yeah.
But he was like looking at it's like this is better than nothing. You know, it's like they cared about doing it. Cuz that's one of the things he says good art isn't about exactness or fineness, but it's about like the head and heart of the artist or something. So basically, it's actually weirdly similar to what Tolstoy says, where he's like, basically, art has to be like a purposeful desire to communicate your feeling, sort of a thing, where it's like, you want to do it, so you do it. It's similar. They're wording it very differently, and it's kind of coming from different places. That was something I noticed. I thought that was interesting. They kind of come to a similar conclusion in a way.
Well, and they're obviously they would have some pretty strong disagreements, but one of the reasons I really like the aesthetics movement, because I agree with it, I like those. But the idea when they say there's lots of different like versions of arts for art's sake, but for them there's specifically like kind of this like specific movement in like Great Britain and America's kind of railing against the idea that art needs to be like teaching like a functional moral lesson.
Yeah.
Like a social thing, which is definitely like all art now.
Yeah.
Is like what's your social message, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like my least favorite thing. So that's one of the reasons I really like the aesthetics movement. But I think in that sense it's actually like pretty close to Tolstoy because
Tolstoy's also like
Yeah.
it shouldn't do that.
yeah, like they
it's like similar but not like they're basically coming to similar. It's not even the same conclusion because, for example, with like the aesthetics movement, it's just like it needs to be beautiful, whereas Tolstoy's like no, it has to communicate sincere feeling.
Yeah.
Feeling felt by the artist.
We have to measure everything against Tolstoy forever because he's like the grand curmudgeon.
I know.
He's like the final boss. We like went to the final boss early on.
I know. Cause Oscar Wilde's like barely that at all.
Yeah.
He's more just like, your furniture's ugly.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like, it's not as like intense. He's just like, it could be better.
We were talking.
You just gotta carve some wood.
Yeah.
Don't use a machine.
We were talking about whether people would be fun to hang out with, and Oscar Wilde would definitely be fun to hang out with.
Yeah.
He might like.
I mean, that's basically what he's known for, is for being like
to be funny.
Cool guy.
Yeah. He might like hit you with some witticisms.
Yeah.
He might be snarky at you. but yeah, he'd be fun to hang out with. Yeah. Quick story time that sort of illustrates. I went on a saga today just to find a shirt, because all my shirts are falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And every so often I have to like try, and because I decided like a few years ago to try to look like not too slovenly. Aha. Wait.
I can't see because of the stupid heart.
There's the heart's in the way.
I can't move it either.
Snapple dapple message.
You drew something.
I'm the Terry. Oh, he's the. So he's not the end boss. He's the tavern keeper at the beginning of the game. He's the first goblin.
Yeah.
But like you don't even have a health bar yet, because the game like you can't even take damage yet. Yeah, we got it. We figured it out eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went on a quest to get a shirt, and I wanted. This last time I kind of like got my wardrobe. I got stuff that was like pretty boring. Because I was still kind of like operating under the sort of like a Zenish type thing where I'm like, well, my face is already weird. I've got like a mustache and a shaggy little goatee and long hair. And I'm like, that's like enough. The rest of me like can be understated. But I was like, I kind of want something like a little loud. And there's like no such thing as that for men.
No, not really. You have to go with like, there's like button-up shirts, I guess it could.
Well, without it being like, I didn't want like a weird graphic tee. I wanted like a button-up shirt that had like something like a little more like a kind of crazy like floral pattern or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to like every fast fashion. I just went to every store and there's just nothing. I got one that's sort of wild. It's like the wildest I could get. So what's interesting is I found that even the ones that look kind of crazy, if you stand back like 10 feet, it just turns into like...
It's just like a blue shirt.
Yeah, you're like, a blue shirt with a pattern on it. Like all of them. There's no such thing as... I like just kept looking over at the ladies sections in jealousy. Because they just...
You need to get one of the... So in like the Dominican Republic, and I'm sure other Latin American countries that have like the dress shirts where they have like an embroidered like dragon on it.
Yeah,
or something.
Well, that's what I wanted.
Those are awesome, and they have like 4 pockets. That I never understood the 4 pocket thing. But I kind of love those shirts. They're so ridiculous.
And yeah, you could go. There's again there's only one place I can think of where you can get a shirt made in Provo. That's called Garth's, and they make suits. And you could go and a shirt costs like $200. So that's what we're talking about. Like it's like you can do that. You can get your shirt.
Mm-hmm.
But
it might be worth it though. At least to have like a shirt like that.
Yeah.
An interesting experiment.
I might. So I did that a few years ago, except for I got a real boring shirt there.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of don't like that shirt very much, and I feel bad that I spent any money on it.
You have to get like a crazy one.
Yeah, I need to go in and be like, I need this like wild pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Although, what we should do is we should just go get like boring shirts from the DI and then like paint something on them.
Paint something.
Yeah, because there's totally those like
There are like t-shirt.
yeah, like
paints.
fabric paints. We should just like paint on them.
It's from the dollar store.
Yeah.
They have fabric paint. It's probably awful.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd probably like go to Michael's and be sad about how much the paint costs, but
Yeah,
we should do that sometime.
that would be interesting.
Have a big shirt drawing party. Yeah, that was my other solution. I was like, well, I could go and get a custom shirt made. The third solution is probably just search around on the internet. I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to like go find something because I like to try things
probably
on.
still be expensive too.
It would be it. I kind of already did search a little, and it is expensive.
Yeah.
Because people make some cool shirts like on Etsy, but yeah, they're like the cheapest one I saw was like $80.
I mean, that's pretty normal though for like a decent shirt.
That's
I mean,
true.
But yeah.
I'm just in thrift mode.
Yeah. No,
which like it creates its own limitation.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
I don't know, for me, like, the thing I was just thinking about is how there's not much in the way of, like, craftsmen around.
oh yeah, not at all. Well, story 2. You know this one, I think. So this is... Yeah, Bradley, it's true. I've bought like 2 nice dress shirts, but it's hard for me to like spend.
I think the dress shirt I use right now is like, I don't remember how much. It was like over $50. But the thing is like, I wear it like once a week, and it's pretty nice. I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, story 2. So even before I explored any of this, I had already kind of like arrived at this conclusion where I was like, things that are made by hand, like I like stuff that's made by hand.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, we were like, we want a new dresser. We had the money to get a new dresser.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to whatever R.C. Willie. Is that furniture place? Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's where we went. I think we went to an R.C. Willie. And as we were walking around, I was like, oh, all of these are like made of like balsa wood.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're all like
Yeah.
made of like composite wood, and they've like slapped a thing that looks like real wood on like the outside.
Yeah.
And like a lot of them look nice, but I was like, I want something real. And so I contacted like if you try and look for a furniture maker, there's like no such thing. Like I was trying to look for a carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you type that into your maps, you're like carpenter in Provo, your maps be like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like the internet's like I'm sure if you were really in the know, we've talked about this before too. Like we could probably find them. In fact, there's probably a bunch if you like know where to look.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, hey, find me a carpenter that makes dressers,
They're not gonna have like a location. It's gonna be like in somebody's garage.
Yeah.
That they have like all the tools.
So there to start, I just like couldn't find anybody. But my brother's friend was like an apprentice carpenter, and so we talked with him about doing it, but then he was going through some tough life stuff and couldn't, so we never ended up getting a dresser.
Your clothes are just on in a pile on the floor.
Well, kind of, because we're still using the same dresser, which is super broken, and so the clothes are in like giant piles in the broken drawers, which are like just like hanging out at odd ends or at odd angles.
Yeah.
But yeah, the story is that there's It's not like, oh yes, the craftsmen that makes dressers, like they don't readily exist.
Yeah.
Because how are they supposed to compete with?
RC Willie and
Yeah.
IKEA.
Unless there's like a cultural demand for them, which there's not.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about IKEA.
Oh yeah.
I have my IKEA shelves right here.
Yeah, you should be ashamed.
They're very practical. But definitely like thinking about all these things, particularly this. IKEA furniture really is actually pretty ugly. Like I wouldn't describe anything I've seen from IKEA as beautiful.
No.
Like just
Unless
like
you're
look,
like,
it's inoffensive, I guess, but you wouldn't look at anything from there and be like, wow, look at this craftsmanship. You just be like, oh yeah, that's a lamp. Oh, that's a desk. That's a shelf. It's very. I mean, that's the idea. It's just like basic.
yeah.
But it definitely is like doesn't elevate your whatever space it's in. It's just
Yeah, you're not like
the most-
Oscar Wilde, and you're like, oh, this IKEA desk, like makes my soul sore or whatever.
yeah. It's not a beautiful rational design. It's just it's just a rational one. They skipped the beautiful part. But like everything is just like a machine built thing. I don't know. I've been thinking about a lot of things about that.
Basically,
From all sorts of things. I know I've probably mentioned it, but it's like when you have like the thing that always comes to my mind is like the light wall sculpture thing in the Peg building across from Smith's that you can see in like the main entrance.
yeah.
How it's like pseudo art.
Yeah.
Or it's like it's not of anything and no who made it. No, it's just like nobody like it's almost like nobody made it at all. It's weird. Like I think about it and it's like conceptually very strange that it even exists. Like, is there anybody you can even attribute it to? It's like a design that exists from like some kind of chain of bureaucracy or something. Like I bet if you went in that building and found like I don't know, like the building manager, I don't know. I'm sure there's like somebody who's like knows a bunch of stuff about the building and you're to ask about that, they'd be like, I don't know, it was just in the blueprints. Like it's like who designed that? It's like I don't know, the architect, I guess. It's like I guess.
It's like
It's like
well, they probably the architect probably had it in like a little group of or like a little catalog of things that you could just slap in. Like,
yeah.
It's like clip art for your.
Well, also it's I'm trying to think how to word it. It's kind of like art where they kind of just got whatever their computer spit out. They're like, "Hey, we have the inputs for like materials for this wall, and like the slats that we're using are like just this width. What can I make out of something with that width?" It's kind of like just like sliding some things around on a computer screen in CAD.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, that looks good.
It's like the large scale equivalent of the knick-knack that you put on your coffee table that you got from wherever.
Yeah.
That you got from uh
from at home.
Yeah, that is absolutely like has no drop of like meaning. It's just this like strange shape that
was just like poured into a mold.
Yeah, and you
that
put
was
it on your vacation home table because you're like, now I've decorated.
Yeah. I was telling you about that one time I went in at home, and it was like existential dread wandering around in there. Because everything in there, you're like, somebody who doesn't care about anything made a thing that into a mold, and then they just like poured like resin into it like 10 million times, and you're just like in this aisle of like 40 of the same like artsy lamp that isn't at all. You're just like, oh.
Yeah.
And like everything's like that, and you're like, this is like the epitome of just like mass production of decorations. I don't know, there's like something horrifying about it when you're like in a space like that, and you're like, this stuff, it's like makes it very apparent how just mechanical all of it is. And suddenly it's not I don't know. Like, I couldn't possibly buy anything from there. I can't remember what I was looking for something specifically. I don't remember what it is at this point, but it was like something that for like practical reasons. But just like when you see like 200 of like the same like coffee table ornament, you're just like, oh my God, why would I buy this? Like, it's almost like if I were to own something like that, it's like, instead of that piece of art being something that's like signifying something significant about myself, it's almost like rendering myself less meaningful as a human being, because I have the same meaningless like lump as 200 other people at least that buy that thing. It's like there's something like crazy about it where it's like nega art.
Yeah.
Like the purpose that it would serve in like a real sense, if you're like serious about it, is like it's something that you kind of connect with on like a human level because somebody thoughtfully crafted that thing and that you felt a connection with that. Instead, it's like, here's this meaningless thing that I bought. So, what does that say about you? I don't know. That you buy that sort of a thing. So it's like, I'm not buying something like that. Otherwise, I'm like deleting my humanity or something.
Yeah, I remember once we were at at family's house, and they had some vacation rental flipping show playing, and it was just playing like, you know, it was just everyone was chatting and having a nice time, and then just kind of playing in the background over and over again. Or multiple episodes, and yeah, I saw it at least in 2 episodes, but yeah, the part where they'd flipped the place, and now they were like, okay, interior decorator lady, do your thing, and she like spewed these things across the whole house, and she was like, it really ties it together, and I was like, oh no.
It's like, I don't want to live in this space.
Well, you've like made it. Again, it's kind of what you're saying. It's like super commercialization. I don't even know how to, like, because you're like, well, whatever soul there was in this little place is...
It's gone now.
Yeah. Yeah, those. Um,
It's because Oscar Wilde's complaining
oh.
about machine-made like furniture, but like the scale of things now is like beyond comprehension.
This is like Oscar Wilde's hellscape.
Oh, take him to At Home and
Yeah.
watch some like renovation shows. He's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm sure some of those where they take somewhere, it's like, oh, this has some charm, and now it's like this soulless abyss of a house.
Yeah.
Just like, what did you do?
Well, because you know they always turn it into some sort of like lowest common denominator, looks like all the others terrible thing.
Yeah.
There's no. Which I haven't given this a whole lot of thought, but we're kind of. I mean, we've talked about it, I feel like, but it's like, what is that where it looks good, but nothing else. It's like when you see those styles, like. Like like the farmhouse interior design style that is,
Oh.
like where it like looks good, but it like that's like the end.
It looks good, doesn't feel good.
Yeah, it feels fake. They
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what you call that.
Yeah, but Oscar Wilde would have a bad time. The ghost of Oscar Wilde. I don't. Yeah, he'd go like, I don't know. I don't exactly know the attitude, or I don't know that much about how Oscar Wilde was. I don't know if he'd go like Jesus with the money changers on that place at home, or if he'd just leave.
I figured he'd just leave.
I think he'd just leave.
And then he'd talk about how awful it was to somebody at a party.
Yeah, yeah.
Or give a lecture about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he time traveled from like 1890 or whatever when he did this lecture to today, he'd be like, you guys made it worse. You didn't listen to me at all. It's like you did the exact opposite. It's like everything's uglier now.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we figured out how to produce like chairs at like 1,000 times the rate that we could before. So now everybody has the same exact chairs. In fact, we have so many of these ugly mass-produced chairs that we don't know what to do with them all. So
But there's entire catalogs where you can have variations. They end up being like weirdly meaningless. That's kind of the thing. Is you can have like endless variations. But
they're all in the end just
it
a
doesn't.
nothing.
Yeah. Weird. So here's to jump to a different point, one that I thought was kind of interesting. The differentiation of whatever he calls art and then decorative art.
Oh.
I can't remember the word he had, because he's like, hey, you know what you guys have in America? You got lots of great artists. He's like, what you actually need are more craftsmen, like more craftsmen, better trained.
Was imaginative art?
Yeah.
And then like essentially like craftsmanship.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So I thought that was actually super interesting.
That's like his first point where he's like, America doesn't need more imaginative art. It needs more craftsmen. And he goes into like how he's like, poets and painters are going to do their thing no matter what, whether people like it or not. But craftsmen need like people to care about what they do.
Yeah.
And they need like the input. They need the people to appreciate what they're doing, and they also need a beautiful environment to like inspire them.
Yeah, and I really liked how he wanted the imaginative artist and the craftsman to be like in cahoots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like essentially he wants the artist to like give the craftsman like a beautiful design, and the craftsman can like execute it beautifully.
Yeah.
And then yeah, he wants the having a beautiful place to like work. That was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well,
He wants a craftsman to like have a beautiful place to work.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Which I don't know. Not a whole lot of craftsmen have ever probably had that in the history of craftsmen. Some,
Yeah.
but not
I
a
don't
lot.
know.
Although a wood shop's kind of charming in its own way, usually.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can only do so much to make it somewhere like that beautiful, because it's kind of the nature of it is you have a lot of just like rough working surfaces and it gets all dirty.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna have like paintings on the wall. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, in Bradley, that's almost more like what we talked about last week, which was Leo Tolstoy was like, it's got to be an exchange.
Yeah.
Like the artist needs the person that he's like arting to, because you know you get like
That's
goes
the
both
that's the
ways.
whole point of doing the
Yeah.
art. I mean, yeah, that's kind of the big difference between somebody like Oscar Wilde and Leo Tolstoy is Oscar Wilde's much more of a art for art's sake, and an artist should just be creating the art for the sake of it. Whereas Leo Tolstoy's like, his whole thing is like, he goes to the extreme of artists shouldn't do their art as a profession. They should be doing other things. Like they should be like a baker, or, you know, a bricklayer or something. And then if they feel like doing art, they should do it. Basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it should be for the purpose of communicating a sincere felt feeling that you want to transmit to others through space and time. So he's like, it's pretty different, but there's definitely like weird like bits where it's like kind of works out the same.
Yeah.
It's odd, but it's really interesting seeing that.
But,
so,
but yeah, I mean, me too.
yeah.
With stuff, I like. It's very much about like. Again, this is like a Tolstoy thing, like a communication. Like, I need people to see what I make too.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I've made anything for a long time. Try.
Yeah.
But like the idea in my head is there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not just like making it for some like. It's like the impulse is personal,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not like, oh, I will make this and it will exist and that is good enough. I'm like, I'm making this like for somebody to like.
Yeah.
To like experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely I'm much more in towards the Tolstoy camp of what art is, I think, than the aesthetic, pure aesthetic side where it's just like you should just the art is its own thing. It's more no, I should have like something that I'm like a good reason for doing it. It's like the asking yourself, why am I doing this? It's like, am I taking it seriously? Again, Tolstoy gets real serious about that.
Yeah.
Where he's like, you need to ask yourself whether art is even a good thing.
Yeah, he friggin' grand curmudgeon.
Yeah, but he makes very good points about it. I don't know, they both make interesting points though.
So
Because I really like a lot of. Because, for example, one of the things that Oscar says that I think is actually a really good point is kind of the nature of the things that you interact with and like the environment that you're in will affect your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you have everything's like rough and clunky, it's like you're not going to treat things delicately. It's like you're going to be rougher with stuff. But if like the things around you are more delicate, it's like you're going to treat them differently. The way you're going to carry yourself in that kind of space or using those things going to be differently.
Yeah, he's like, what if a child like grows up with just like surrounded by beauty?
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much like describes my house. He's like, oh yeah, like you know those houses that are just grimy everywhere and everything's like broken and clunky. And I was like,
It's like that's
I was just like no, because it like describes my house. And I pretty much spend all day just desperately trying to like clean it a little bit. And it's like I make no headway. Let alone just like repairing things that are just like falling apart at the seams.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he talks about that segment, I was just like, no. Because I would like love to beautify the house, but it's like,
how do you even go about that?
you need time and money.
Yeah.
Luxuries of an aristocrat, to be sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
You go about it slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise. Yeah.
Oscar Wilde had kids.
Yeah, he had kids.
Tolstoy had kids.
But both of them were... Again,
they're both well off.
Yeah, they're both very well off. That makes it makes it easy to maintain a house when you can have other people do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all the people we've talked about have had kids.
I wonder how much a cleaning service costs. That would like straight up
I don't know.
Free a decent amount of my time.
It's
just except for I'd still be.
It's probably not cheap.
No, it's probably not cheap. That's why only.
To be fair, your house is tiny.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
The cleaning person would just be like, "Huh, sure, I'll clean this, I guess."
There's like I know over by, kind of near your house, there's like a Hispanic maid service or something.
Yeah. Then they have nannies.
Yeah.
Which, that's just... Yeah, nanny's an interesting one because I have feelings about that it's important to me to like raise my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Nanny's an interesting one, but nannies would free up a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like nannies would be immense, but yeah, I'm kind of... You should have seen when we mentioned putting plants in a house.
Oh yeah. No. Nannies is a interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about a nanny.
One of my coworkers, him and his wife have a nanny.
Whoa!
Dang it!
The tea catastrophe has happened. This time, just not scalding.
This time it's my fault.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, it's not.
It's not me like juggling a scalding pot across the room. Yeah, my grandma had a cleaning service for a long time in her like pretty I mean, that was nice. It was a very clean house. But she was already clean. Our house fluctuates, but it's amazing what a disaster kids just seem to make. It just
They just make a mess.
It's wild. I say that because this happens to me almost daily, where in the middle of the day I will completely like clear the floor. I move through it like the Terminator, just with like a precision toy killing machine, and then it's like the mess just like comes out, like it just like pops back into the room in the next like 5 minutes. It's kind of bizarre.
It's because that's like the only thing kids do is like play.
Yeah.
So that's like their whole thing. So
I mean, I guess it's not that bizarre because I will have like completely cleared the floor and I look and little Madeline will be like dragging a cubby full of who knows what like out into the center of the floor to like dump it out. And she'll like play with it for 5 minutes and then like start tearing cushions off of couches or something. But yeah.
Just need a couch, like old timey couch where you can't even take the cushions off.
Yeah.
There's like part of the furniture. You have to like pull like tacks out to
Yeah.
take the cushion off.
Yeah, kids, they do create chaos. Just make sure it's an old-timey one that has lots and lots of cushion on it because...
Or just have like benches.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say we could have like you could have like those like craftsman style couches, which are like basically benches with cushions, and then your kids would just get hurt 24/7 because that's what kids do with any like hard wood surface. They just hit into it. You just have your kids like bonking their heads all day. What were we? Oh, yeah, that's right. Oscar Wilde described visiting messy houses, dirty, broken down houses, and it made me sad because that's like what I have aspirations in my heart of making my house beautiful, and it's like I can't even like begin because I spend all my time
just fighting the whirlwind of children.
Yeah, and I kind of cause my own whirlwind too because I cook.
Yeah.
I do like dishes and pick up toys and like vacuum floors, and then all my time is gone. Yeah, it's an interesting idea where you're like, I mean, 100% it's true. Your attitude changes depending on like the place you're in.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like the crux of aestheticism in a lot of ways. Like they get made fun of a lot because like there's some famous Oscar Wilde quote. I don't remember how it goes, but essentially he's like, I aspire to like be worthy of this vase.
Yeah.
Like he has like some, like the idea is the beautiful vase, and he's like, I aspire to be worthy of this.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the idea that it's like lovely, beautiful things do affect us.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a lot of truth to that. I mean, it's in the same sense. I mean, again, other things we've read talked about it. Or, for example, it's like going to see art, dressing up for that is kind of similar.
Yeah.
And also just like when you are like take time to like consider how you dress, it does have an effect on you. Just same thing applies with like just like the space you're in. Which I need to clean my studio. It's so messy and chaotic.
Oh, I know. I mean, I've been. Again, my new workstation is the table in the back room because
Yeah.
my. Otherwise, I was keeping the baby up.
Mm-hmm.
And that table's been like. The benches have just been like a big messy storage area for a while. And it kind of makes me not feel good. But again, it's hard to get to.
Why not? I mean, yeah. The clutter is like kind of driving me crazy, and I had like probably like a month ago I more or less cleaned at least my desk. But I have a bunch of stuff I need to move into a storage unit. But I have to get some other stuff done first. It's just annoying.
Yeah.
I also need to just hang up more art up on the walls in here. I have like one thing right now. It's just, I mean, all of these things kind of make me aspire to be more considerate of art stuff in my life. Of all sorts.
Yeah.
But it's like frustrating because in a way a lot of, for example, if you want like a good like actually like beautiful space, it's not very easy to do. Especially it's like, for example, in here, it's like, what do you do about like the drop ceiling? I don't know what to do about that. It's the worst. I hate drop ceilings. But I can't like remove it. It's not my room.
Yeah.
It's the office building's room. So it's like, what do you do about something like that?
Oh, yeah, I have no idea.
Or if you're like renting somewhere, it's like you can't like, I mean, some places you can do some stuff, but not always. And so it's like, what do you do? Is wallpaper even a thing anymore?
Yeah. Again, if I had my way, if I had time and resources,
Get some cool wallpaper.
I straight up want like a chinoiserie wall, like a.
Yeah.
Those are sweet. Again, I think, in the end, a lot of the other people we've read feel more correct than the aesthetics people, but I like the aesthetics people stuff best. Like I want my big wall that's like bright teal with golden peacocks.
Yeah.
And like flowers, and then I want another wall like just like plastered with paintings.
Yeah. You want your own peacock room.
Yeah, I want my own peacock room.
Which, by the way, he talks about the peacock room. I have pictures of peacock room.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I get to see that. Probably.
Where is it? It's in D.C., but, like, where?
It's in one of the Smithsonian museums. They moved the room into a museum.
They moved the room?
Yep.
How do you...
I don't know, but...
How does that work?
I don't know. They move, like, entire houses, so a room's probably not that hard.
Oh, it's so incredible. He says all these like random like urns all over the place.
Yeah. Well, so it was, I think, built to house those more or less. Whatever, like I think they're just a bunch of like Chinese porcelain stuff. But
Oh, the ceiling's so cool.
I know the whole room is so cool, which, go Team America, because Oscar Wilde didn't have a lot of nice things. Well, didn't have a lot of nice things to say, but he said that this was the most wonderful room he'd ever been in.
I mean,
this was designed by American artist, whatever his name is, Whistler.
I always forget what was.
I know, I do too. Who would not be fun to hang out with, I don't think. This is always, I don't know.
I don't know much about him.
He was, he was kind of Oscar Wilde-ish. Again, it's not like I knew him, but from what I recall from whenever I, looked up this stuff, I got the impression he was kind of a jerk. But he's also like a sassy Oscar Wilde, like a sassy, snarky, getting up to shenanigans kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember getting the distinct impression that he was not. He was like a too smart for the room kind of guy. Although I like a lot of Whistler stuff a lot. Whistler's a rockin' artist.
Mm-hmm. James McNeill Whistler.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's really good. He's a really good artist.
Yeah, so he designed this room.
Yeah. He did the painting. I don't know exactly what it entails. Like, he just, like...
Oh, I read about it once upon a time.
I'm sure he didn't do all the work on it, but...
No. Well, and that's kind of...
He came up with what it should be.
It kind of embodies a little bit of what this whole little lecture by Oscar Wilde is about, which is... Whistler would have the vision, and then talented and competent craftsmen would execute. Because, that's... The problem is the artist doesn't know how to woodwork or do, like, tile work. Like, people need to learn how to do these things.
How to, like, inlay things. And
yeah, so you need to have, like,
basically, like
an excellent craftsman, and the excellent craftsman makes a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
With the artist, with or without the artist, I guess it did. But, like, with the artist providing the rational, beautiful design as Wilde.
Yeah, as he says. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like, as I was talking about earlier, I don't know if we had started yet, but it's hot. I've been doing some research into, like, Japanese woodblock history stuff, and, like, how their studios would work is you'd have the artist, like Hiroshige, but he's not carving everything. There's other people that are, like, they're the wood carvers that carve the blocks. And so, I don't know how many he would have had in his workshop. It had to have been a good amount. Because, when you do, like, 8,000 prints, all of which probably have, like, at least like 10 blocks of wood associated with them. And they're like 12 by 16. It's like you're not doing that by yourself. You're not doing that many. So it's like you have to have, and like to do those blocks, you have to be really good. Really good at carving. The other, what was that? It was like 3 weeks ago. They had Japanese woodblock prints in the viewing room at the MOA. And I went and saw those. And that was pretty crazy. I didn't realize, like, some of the lines are so fine on those. But seeing those in person was pretty incredible. I've been wanting to see it for a while. See what actual, like, those kind of things looked like. Because, like, when you look at just, like, an image online or in, like, the books I have, it's not the same. Like, when you actually see it in person, I can tell, like, oh, I can tell where the different blocks are and, like, how they layered it. Because you can, like, feel it. Anyway, point being is, Japanese woodblock studios have, like, specialized craftsmen for each, like, stage of the process. In order to do
like
the whole thing. Yeah, because you have, at the very least, you have the wood carvers, and then you have the printers who do the actual printing. It's like they'd be like pretty big operations.
That's interesting. Because it feels like it would be a smaller thing, but it makes sense when you explain it.
Because they'd be like, make like thousands of prints of these things. So, and yeah, I mean, some of the famous series that Hiroshige did would be like series of like 50 prints or something that he did like over the course of like a year or something like that. Maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, I don't remember. But again, I think it's like each thing would take like probably like a month to carve everything. But if you have like several people carving, you can be getting like a lot done. But yeah. So same thing like with something like this. Yeah, that many. I mean, I did a print that uses 9 blocks. And I did the whole thing in like about a month. It's probably about the same amount of time.
How many months of your life do you think you have left? See how many you can do?
See, there'd be so much work. It was like kind of stressful.
Yeah, it sounds like a director type thing. It's like much more of a production scenario than I would have ever thought for.
I mean,
in my head, you're like, oh yeah, like printmaking. That's like painting. It's like you got like an artist, he's doing it somewhere.
I mean, you can. I mean, that's what I do basically. But like, if you want to scale it up, like you need somebody who's like just carving, because it's really time consuming to do. And I mean, with linoleum, it's a lot easier to work with. But if you're like working with wood, you gotta really know what you're doing. Because if you don't, you can really easily like screw up everything. And on top of that, there's printing with the Japanese woodblock stuff's a lot more complicated. But also there's a lot more stuff you can do. And so that's actually something that requires like a lot of know-how to do right, especially if you need to do it like hundreds of times.
Huh.
But I don't know that much about it. I have like a general knowledge. There are people that know much more than I do. But I mean, it's a lot. That's a lot simpler than something like putting together this room, because you're gonna need all kinds of different sorts of people doing all sorts of different things.
Oh yeah, listen, that room is like making a movie. You would need a literal army of, again, craftsmen, great craftsmen,
Yeah.
doing a whole variety of.
Like I'm sure there's like craftsmen that's like their whole thing is just doing like they're really good at doing gold leaf.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of, we've talked about this before. That's like something we're thinking about with this is that it's like, where are the craftsmen? They're gone. On a certain level, they're gone. Like, if you're very wealthy, there's still like craftsmen that do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But like on like a, like the cobbler down the street just kind of doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not, like a lot of people have woodworking as a hobby. That's like a fairly common-ish one, but it's like there's craftsmen that you can find, but yeah, like in our culture or our society, like the industrialization's like gotten rid of the craftsmen.
It's because convenience is the primary consideration.
Yeah.
I mean, I was even thinking about like with the way shoes are now. It's like, can you even like repair them? It's like compressed foam and rubber.
You can repair some. There are cobblers. Kind of like how you can find like a tailor.
Yeah.
You can repair like formal shoes, but yeah, you can't like repair like your Nikes. Really.
You can like super glue them, I guess.
Yeah. I've super glued plenty of shoes.
It's just like see. Yeah, it's like not the I mean, at one point it's like there had been like hat makers, like haberdashers, haberdasheries, where you just be like, "Hey, could you make me a hat?" There's like some local guy that makes hats. They know how to make hats.
Oh,
but
just to illustrate this all again, real quick, same thing. I finally like a few months ago walked into the hat maker in Springville.
Yeah.
I was just curious, and the guy was like, "All right, here's our hats. They start at $400."
You're like, "Oh, geez."
Yeah, I was like, "Well, just kind of look around a little bit." Thanks.
But I mean, if you're not buying tons of hats,
yeah,
you think about it, it's kind of like getting like a really nice pair of boots or something. Where you're like, if you get a nice pair of boots, it's gonna basically last you the rest of your life, and so it might be actually a great deal to get like a. But the question is like, how often do you wear a hat?
Yeah.
I personally don't really like wearing hats, but so I don't know if I'd be willing to spend that much on one, but if I did wear a hat a lot, I'd think about it.
Yeah, but it depends. You could tell there was a lot of their clientele would probably like a lot of cowboy hats, which would make sense.
Yeah.
Again, if you had this attitude, if you're like, "Oh, I actually want like a high quality hat because I actually like need it."
Yeah.
To have like the sun beating down on it.
Yeah.
And it to be like functional and nice.
Mhm.
But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to. Like just saying that there would have been all of this stuff. it's kind of, again, it's, if there was a demand, like, it's just what people, if people wanted it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of what there is. There's still like, people still want cabinets, and the cabinets are oftentimes actually still made by carpenters. So there's like quite a lot of like you can find like cabinet people pretty easy. They're craftsmen. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Even though, but that's like pretty easy. I'm sure a lot of the cabinets you could get are like prefabricated, and all they have to do is like basically snap them together. But they, I'm sure you could actually still, like, it'd be pretty easy to find a cabinet maker who could make you some like real nice cabinets. It's a fairly common one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. Because like something I was thinking about, I went on like a little walk today thinking about these things. I was like, I wonder, it's like, you're mentioning, what was it, Garth's?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that existed, but like, could you just find somebody who happens to be into tailoring that you could just be like, hey, could you make me a thing?
The thought crossed my mind on my shirt quest. I was like, is there anyone I know that does tailoring at all? Could they make me a shirt from a pattern if I could find the fabric? I don't know anybody. The answer's no.
No. But the thing is, like, even if it's somebody you don't know, it's like if you could find some.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there's probably at least several people just floating around Provo that know how to take a pattern and make a shirt out of it. I don't know who they are, but they probably exist.
Yeah.
And it might actually be a good option because maybe they don't do it as like a business. So if you came to them like, hey, you want to make this shirt with this material I have? They might give you a good deal on it because they're like, oh, that sounds fun.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I don't even know how you would find somebody that does that. They've got to exist though.
No, you're right.
Somebody who's like really into cosplay or something. Is it on Center Street? There's that house that has like a bunch of mannequins in it. That has like a bunch of like period clothes in there. I wonder if that person knows something.
I think it's gone now.
Is it gone? I haven't been over there in a while. I remember like walking past that a lot.
I think it was like a wedding place.
Okay.
All I know is that the angle of the window and how they had the mannequin like cut off the head.
Yeah.
So it was like a little scary.
I know, it was kind of a creepy building.
Yeah.
It is a cool building, but...
Yeah. But I think whatever like business was there, I think is not there right now. That stuff. But yeah.
But yeah, that was something I was thinking about. It's like, are there people that just are hobbyists in some kind of craft that you could tap into for things like that? Also things like, I mentioned like getting like a nice plate.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sure there's people around who just like do like ceramics. And you could go to them and be like, hey, do you want to make me a cool plate? I'll pay you like $30 for it. And they might be like, oh yeah, sure. But I don't know.
I mean, you can find those people at the very beginning of the year at the farmer's market before they probably don't make any sales and they disappear.
Yeah. But if I'm at the farmer's market, I can't easily talk to them.
I'll go be your liaison. I'll be like, I have a friend. He wants to make a deal with you. He wants a mug. No, that's actually pretty like high on my wish list, is to have a set of like handmade like ceramic, like of glasses, mugs, plates,
craft dinnerware.
Yeah, as soon as I'm in that stage of life where stuff like that is feasible and won't
Mhm.
get broken by tiny hands.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty high up. I always like gather up all their cards at the farmers market and then just
Mhm.
kind of don't do it. You know, I can't do anything with it. 'Cause I'm like, but I just hold on to them longingly.
Mhm. Yeah. I know there's people. For example, there's people that are like blacksmiths.
Yeah,
Um,
where do you find that?
I have a coworker that knows somebody that I don't think they do it much anymore, but they're they're a blacksmith and they'd make like knives and stuff. There's a guy that used to come into the Kolache shop a lot that they'd make like swords. It's kind of crazy. So they're around. So it's like, could you get like some like custom made like silverware?
Yeah.
I don't know. That'd be cool.
I do. Yeah, I do want everything made by hand. That's
That's
I
That's-
arrived at that conclusion long before this. because-
But yeah, my thoughts are on like, could you find people that do that sort of thing, right? Instead of just like, because there's people that do stuff like that as just like a
Yeah.
hobby sort of thing. They're not necessarily like, there's a ton of people that are like carpenters that don't like run a carpentry business.
Yeah.
They're just like, I like carving stuff. When I was at Vivint Solar, one of my coworkers, he's like, yeah, I just make like furniture for fun. They're literally just like make furniture.
yeah.
And they'd sell it, but it was like not like their main thing. They
Yeah.
like didn't care about that as much. They're just like, I like making cool chairs. So they're around, and you probably wouldn't be able to find them by just like Googling like things like potters near me
Yeah.
or blacksmiths near me. I mean, some of them you might find something that's gonna be like some business that's gonna charge a lot for it. I mean, any option's gonna be expensive, but I do wonder if you found somebody that nobody knows about. Because I could see that, like, just if you have a hobby and somebody came up to you and it's like, hey, I'll pay you money to do your hobby, like,
Yeah.
maybe like, well, I was going to do it anyway, so
Yeah.
that sounds fun. Get paid a little bit. I don't know. I have no idea.
In my experience, if you really look for stuff like this, you'll find it pretty. Doesn't take too long, but stuff like this, these like little hidden worlds, like unfold.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really like digging into it,
Yeah.
it's
I
you know,
wonder-
it's just like if you were to be like an easy example is like basically any hobby type thing. If you think about it, like on YouTube, if you're like, man, I need to learn about like sound equipment. Like at first, you might like be like, oh, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot here,
Mhm.
and then before long, you'd be like, actually, there's a whole ton here.
Yeah, there's actually infinity amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that if you were, yeah, I mean, it's like you were saying. I mean, like obviously, like within like a certain radius, there's probably several people who are talented tailors.
Yeah. There's gotta be.
Yeah.
But the question is like, how do you find people like that?
Yeah.
Especially, I mean,
Maybe that should be my secret hobby.
finding craftsmen
Yeah, finding
Around.
craftsmen.
and then uniting them.
and then giving them beautiful places to work.
Yeah.
Be like, Oscar Wilde said so.
Yeah,
Like,
you force them to read this.
yeah.
Or you just memorize the whole lecture and you just recite it to them.
And I'm like, and that's why
you...
your kids get to have an hour of woodworking every day. Again, Oscar's absolutely right. Kids dig it.
Yeah. Have like a glass blowing class.
Yeah, if you had like an hour of like craftsman stuff, kids would love that.
Yeah.
Because it's all...
It's fun.
Yeah, it's all fun. That's a problem I have is, like, I made the bunk bed. It's because I want to learn how to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to.
Yeah.
I just want to do every single part.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the point, is there's not, like, enough time for anybody.
To do all of that.
Yeah, like...
Unless it's, like, all you're doing. I guess if you didn't need to do anything else, you could.
You can only have so many, like, things.
Yeah. No, that's the
Because
problem.
I made the bunk bed, and it's just 2x4s stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
It's not beautiful.
You tried.
Yeah, it's like beautiful in the effort.
Yeah.
And the color of the paint's kind of nice, sort of. But it's...
Yeah.
But it's not beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Versus, something that could be made by, like, again, the craftsman who has dedicated time and effort to learning whatever thing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of intrigued by this idea of, like, tracking down, secretly finding craftsmen. I mean, one of my neighbors was a ceramics person, and I never talked to them before they moved because... But I didn't, because I was like, well, I don't have any money for this, so what am I supposed to do? Be like, well, someday maybe I'll commission you.
Yeah.
But then they moved, and so it was almost like I felt a little bad, but I wouldn't have commissioned them anyway.
Uh-huh.
But there you go, there was a potter.
There's got to be a bunch, though.
Yeah. That one's also probably a little more common.
Mm-hmm. Because it's a relatively... I don't know.
I think, well, counting them, I know two people who are, like, highly skilled potters. I know, like, a handful of, again, like, the guy, our neighbor was like a professional potter.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a couple people who are carpenters, they're all like amateur carpenters, but like competent.
Yeah.
So there's these things like those are like more common ones. So you're like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, carpentry's probably the most common one. Tailoring's probably close, though.
Yeah,
That's a pretty popular thing. I mean, considering
I bet you're right.
There's multiple businesses that make a huge portion of what they do is caters to that. For example, like Joanne Fabric and Michaels both have. Joanne Fabric in particular is like basically exists because of people that make stuff out of fabric.
Yeah. I bet within a pretty small radius, you could find somebody. If, like,
Question is, like, could you find somebody who's, like, who's, like, the best person? Who's the best person who isn't, like, a professional tailor in Provo? That's I think probably the sweet spot. Find somebody who's like really good, but they just like do it for a hobby.
Yeah.
not somebody who like actually works at like Garth's or whatever.
Yeah, or you can go to the, or you can just go to one of the tailors,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe secretly they'd be like, you're like, can you make me a shirt? And they're like, oh, people have only asked me to like take in their pants.
Yeah, to like hem their pants.
Yeah, I've only been like adjusting like wedding slacks and wedding dresses for the last like 30 years. Like, I would love to make a shirt.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cause yeah, there's like a couple, there's 2 or 3 like just tailor shops, but
Cause yeah, also
they
things
just
like
make you a shirt.
people knit and like crochet things
Yeah.
a lot, so you could get some like sweaters, mittens, and hats and stuff.
How do you go about?
I know
getting,
people that like make soap.
Yeah, how do you go about getting peacock rims?
Oh. Hmm. But yeah, people do all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just not the. It's just trickier to find because people don't have like their craft shop.
Yeah, like you said, you can't.
I'm sure there aren't very many people that make their own shoes though. Who makes shoes as a hobby? I can't imagine there's that many people.
No, I bet within a large city, there's always at least one though. You probably find them.
There's probably a couple in Utah.
Yeah.
There's at least one, I'm sure.
I don't know. I bet in Salt Lake there's probably like an actual cobbler, and then you just go to him or her and be like, "Hey, cobbler,
Make me a shoe.
make me a shoe."
Just one. And I kind of want to. Is there a.
Me too.
I'm
trying to think of a hard one though. A tricksy one. I mean, this probably applies to everything. Cobblers. Yeah, I don't know.
Shoe repair. There's lots of shoe repair place.
See, that's the thing.
That's the thing is like.
Because
but somebody that makes shoes.
Yeah.
That's the thing I'm curious about. Is like, is there somebody that can like, if you went to them and be like, I want a pair of shoes made, not just here, fix these.
Well, it's like I was saying.
Because that's way more complicated than just like replacing the sole on a shoe.
Yeah, it was like I was saying with the tailors, because essentially like the tailor shops around are like are essentially just like repair shops.
Yeah.
But maybe you go into the shoe repair shop, and the guy's like, finally.
Yeah.
He's like, all I've ever wanted to do was make a fine pair of shoes.
Who knows? I mean, to be fair, making a shirt's probably a lot easier than making a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And the materials and like tools you need to make a shirt is basically the same thing you need to repair a shirt. Whereas like I'm pretty sure for making a shoe you have to have like a bunch of specialized tools that you don't necessarily need to like just fix one.
Oh.
I don't know.
Or you could just get into that world. I've sort of looked at that world before.
The shoe building cobbler world.
Yeah, the world of like sartorial stuff, because there's like a section of that. I'm like sort of interested, but not that interested. But it's definitely one of those things where there's people who are super into, nice, beautiful shoes, and there's definitely like companies that still make them, and people are way into it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like workshops in like Italy and stuff. Which again, maybe that's just what you do instead of finding.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other thing is, so you could find Mr. Mysterious Neighborhood Craftsman, but then there's also like these. For something like this, there's like the workshop in Italy that's like the seventh generation shoemakers, and they make like beautiful shoes, and they're like $500. But it's kind of like what we're talking about. It's like, well, maybe if you really badly want those shoes, then it's worth it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oscar Wilde would probably say it's worth it. Because those are probably...
There's definitely a lot of things where just having a very nice one is very worth it.
Yeah.
And shoes are probably for sure one of those things.
Yeah.
I've had some nice pairs of shoes. The shoes I had in my mission were really nice. They lasted me the whole time. I didn't have to have anything done to them. One of them, the sole got worn pretty thin, but the other pair, like, they lasted me like years after. And that was like after spending like walking like 20 miles a day in them. It's like kind of crazy how effective like that, like a good pair of shoes was versus like my crappy slip-on like quick getaway shoes that I got for like $12 from Ross. Just because they're junk. And when they eventually go bad, I can not feel bad about throwing them out.
And I think that applies to like this, like something that's really, really well made.
Mm-hmm.
The pros probably always apply like that.
Mm-hmm.
I read, again, like vaguely interested in like sartorial stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like a couple years ago, I read. A book by he's like some super famous. He's like the main like writer critic guy, and like the main guy who like writes about fashion.
Yeah.
Like, and this book was written like in like the 80s or something, but he gives a list of like all the really nice shirt makers, like where to find them across the United States.
Yeah.
And he's like such and such in New York. And then he makes a case for it, and he's like, I know this is expensive, but he's like, listen, here's what they do. You go there, you get these custom shirts that fit you perfectly, and they're very extremely comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're very expensive, but anywhere in tear, they replace it and they repair it for free.
Okay.
And that's kind of like, and again, this was written like in the 80s.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like it'd probably be about the same.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, yeah, I don't know how much these shirts, but you gotta imagine they're pretty expensive. But yeah, he's like, and so he said his example was Oh, Onassis was just like Audrey Hepburn's husband.
Yeah.
He's like this fabulously wealthy, like, Greek billionaire guy. And he's like, he only ever bought like 5 shirts, and he just brought them back every year to get repaired. Because it was just like extremely high quality, so they would just like. Yeah, so he's like, because he was trying to make the case, he's like, everyone could do this.
Yeah. It's like,
it's expensive, but
it's worth it. It's like, this shirt will last you forever.
Yeah.
Which is true. Like, if you got like a shirt where it's like, if you never had to buy another shirt for the rest of your life, $500 shirt actually might be very worth it. You think about it, it's like, how much money would I spend over the course of a lifetime on, like, say, dress shirts?
Yeah. Because if you have one, and you're like us, and we only need it once a week, maybe a teeny bit more, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Lasts for so long.
Yeah.
Just get armpit stains. You just need to.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to know. Yeah, I want to know if there's somebody that makes shoes in Utah. I'm just very curious about that.
Have you found anyone yet?
Why is this place called Village Shoemaker and it says they only do shoe repair? Can't call yourself a shoemaker and then be like, I just repair shoes.
Well, apparently there's 1,000. 1,000 places with cobbler in the name. Like Cobbler's Peak, Cobbler's Knob. That's a fun name.
Cobbler's Knob.
Okay, Lucky Soul Shoe Repair. Cape. Spanish Fork. Cope Boot and Shoe Repair. Let's see. Okay. But do you make boots? No.
This website is terrible.
I know places. No, I think they don't make. It doesn't seem like they're making shoes. They're selling specific lines of shoes. At least this place.
What? Now we're just looking up, trying to find people that make shoes.
Well,
because it's the only thing I like, kind of craft like that, where I'm like, I can't think. I almost like can't imagine somebody just like doing that because.
Yeah.
It seems like
you would
like not something that people would just do.
Like
I don't know why, because people like shoes a lot.
Like old Uncle Steve's just like in the back making shoes.
People like shoes though. People make a big deal out of shoes, so there's got to be somebody just like makes shoes. Well, I have no idea. It seems like something that requires serious, like, research to figure out.
Hey! Okay, the truth behind luxury shoes. My bespoke shoe collection. Sartorial Talks is is a funny YouTube thing.
But yeah.
How not to look like a 1980s banker.
I've been having a hard time with that.
Yeah.
I can't avoid it. No, yeah. Well, that's the thing is, like, having a good pair of shoes is pretty awesome. I've had just, like, crappy shoes for a while.
Well, I wonder if
because it's always just like cheap and convenient. I'm
Yeah.
like falling victim to that, so it's something I think about. Where like, so from time to time, like, man, having, I mean, I have one pair of shoes that are pretty nice. They have like a bit of like a crumbly bit on it though, which is annoying.
So I wonder if you were to watch this my bespoke shoe collection. You've got bespoke. This is just like the time stamps.
Mm-hmm.
By Ricardo Freccia Bastetti. So there's that one's. That one is. So there's two Italians. Stefan Jimenez.
You have to go to Italy to get cut some bespoke shoes made.
Yeah.
That are probably ridiculously expensive.
I don't know.
Like,
I'm gonna watch this video and I'm curious. I'm gonna watch the.
like, oh yeah, it's just like a $3,000 pair of shoes.
They
or
are
something.
gonna be 100%.
It's gonna be so expensive. I can't. Yeah, bespoke Italian shoes. There's no way they're affordable. It's like technically I could buy them, but
Yeah,
it would be such a big chunk of my money on that one thing. It wouldn't be worth it.
making handmade derby shoes in embossed Cordovan leather. Again, it's one of those things where if you're really into it, the whole world probably opens up. And
Yeah.
there's probably not one.
Maybe
of
the
these people
secret is just. The question is like, where do you
probably not one of these people in
finding?
Salt Lake. You probably have to. I don't know.
I feel like there's got to be somebody,
It's somebody.
or is it?
I feel like there's got to be somebody.
What's like the what's like the probability per million people of having a shoemaker?
Depends on the culture. But for
Is it
us-
like 1 in a million? So in Utah there's like what, like 3 of them? Or is it like 1 in 5 million? So there might be one, but possibly not.
That is absolutely not what I asked for. Yeah, okay. Oh, you're right. There's Village Cobbler. Just not.
Which is not. They just repair shoes. They're all just shoe repair places.
I don't know. Somebody whose last name is Shoemaker.
Yeah. Maybe I have to become the shoemaking guy.
Yeah, it's not too late to pivot.
I have a workshop.
Yeah, you have a
I could
workshop.
convert this into a shoe leather bench
And
thing.
and just when times get darkest, you'll have some elves help you. It'll be great. Iconic shoemaker. Pierre Corthet.
Yeah.
Let's look at this guy's. Bespoke shoemaker in Tokyo, Japan.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, next time you go to Tokyo.
Yeah, I wonder. icanmakeshoes.com. Learn to make shoes.
I don't know if you honestly made shoes.
Shoemaking supplies.
I bet you'd find people who'd be way into
You
it.
get
They'd
patterns.
be way.
Yeah, that's what they'll pivot to shoes at the farmer's market.
I think, I mean, the secret is if you become an expert at any one of these things, you will never want for clients, but you have to be like a master.
I don't know. I bet you could get away with not being a master and just being really good at marketing it.
Nah, that's true. You're right.
I mean, who knows? Maybe we found something here because we're like, we can't even think of like somebody that makes shoes. And it's like, well, I bet other people can't think of anybody that makes shoes.
You're that shoe
You
person?
you could just, if you know how to make shoes and you're in Utah, you could literally just be like, "Hey, I'm the one guy that makes shoes around here. Isn't that neat?" And people would be like, "Wow, this person just makes shoes. That's pretty cool. I'll get some shoes from them."
Yeah.
It's like almost like you almost don't have to do anything.
Well,
I mean, you'd have to do a lot.
you'd be like
but
the hat place.
yeah, you'd be like, we're like the one hat place.
Yeah.
I'm the one shoe guy.
You should go see the hat place. It's fun.
Where is it?
It's just around the corner.
It would be cool to check out.
It's fun because it's like let me just look it up. This would be easier than me explaining it. But it's like the last remaining building of what was probably like a Main Street type thing, but it's just like sitting there, just like on its own.
Yeah.
What's the okay? Let's just look it up. I bet they have a hat maker in that one city, Springville. Not Sporingville. Oh my gosh.
Sporingville.
The problem is, yeah, you can't misspell city names because there probably is a Sporingville. They're like, oh yeah, Sporingville. Oh, Sporingville. Yeah. Okay. There it is. See if they've got a cool picture of their place. They don't. I bet if I... Hey. Okay.
Ooh.
Well, I guess you'll just have to go there and see what I'm talking about because I'm not seeing a single... How's there not a single thing of their cool building? Yeah, it's like there was once a Main Street and the rest of the Main Street is gone. It's just like this little thing sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
That guy looks like he should be making hats. It's like exactly what he should look like. Well, I hope... Come on, I want to see your building.
Well, I found a website that's all about making shoes. That's kind of cool.
There's the side of the building. That's cool.
Yeah, you can get shoe patterns.
Makes sense.
Though this website, it's like 100% women's shoes. Except for one that could be either. It's like a sandal. What if I don't want to make high heels? There's like most of what it was heels. WikiHow can tell you how to make shoes.
Hey, where's your pictures? You promised me pictures. Okay, well,
I'm getting tired.
yeah, and I think we're petering off here. I just hope that the ghost of... I mean, actually, be careful what I wish for. Let's say I wanted the ghost of Oscar Wilde to haunt me instead of Thoreau. Seems cooler. Instead of being like, why do you own things? You'd be like, why do you own ugly things? It's like that picture you have.
Yeah.
It's made of, or that picture, it's
just,
sure is ugly, that made of plastic.
It's like, that's the worst I've ever seen.
And I'm like,
it's like, yeah, it's pretty ugly.
yeah, it's not even like, it's like a cylinder made of plastic, and that's it. There's like not a single drop of beauty to it. Okay, but yeah, we should. Okay, bye, Liza.
We need to sleep. I need to sleep. I have work.
I need to sleep. I have children. I think that's our funny catchphrase that we almost end everything with. All right, bye-bye.
Goodbye.